Welcome back to Leeds lately for another tactical preview in the space of a couple of days, because the games are coming thick and fast now in the lead up to Christmas. I'm recording this the day / the afternoon of the Chelsea game, so I don't know what's happened in that game. I don't know what formation we went with or anything like that, so bear that in mind for this preview. But before we get into it, make sure you hit that big sub button down below, and also make sure you check out the Etsy prints in the description down below. There is a winter sale on there at the moment for 20% off, and also if you go ahead and use the code Christmas25, you'll get 15% off as well, Christmas gifts. So we're talking about Liverpool today. Let's have a little look at the tactics here. Oh, that's the wrong one. There we go. So we're going to talk a little bit about how they build up from the back first. Now, they play in a 4-2-3-1. So this is kind of the formation you'd expect to see from a 4-2-3-1 in a regular team in a build-up phase of play from a goal kick. However, what Liverpool like to do, let's say that the ball actually starts on this side. You would see that Van Dijk would split very, very wide, so would Konaté. Kerkez would actually kind of come into this space here, and Frimpong is gone. Frimpong is all the way up here, essentially being an extra winger alongside Mo Salah, or whoever might be playing out there in this game. So the reason for this, and I've set Leeds up in the 3-5-2 system that we finished the Man City game in, because I think that would be the best game plan for the situation. So let's say that Leeds are in this situation here. Your options for the strikers are kind of generally fill the space about halfway to try and give yourself the best chance of getting wherever the ball is passed to, which I think is probably what Farke would like them to do. So the reason then for splitting wide like this is that Alisson can play the ball into Van Dijk here. Now, because instead of going wide, Kerkez is kind of in an awkward position if he's that close to Van Dijk. But what he does actually is tuck into these kind of half spaces that you can see all the way down the pitch. And when he tucks in there, it gives Van Dijk a very short, easy pass in there. So you can see that the fullback goes narrow here to provide an option. But of course, somebody like Tanaka would come and press this, and Mecha as well. So what happens is, somebody like Szoboszlai usually, or McAllister, will drop it into this position here almost as an extra centre-back. So that when Van Dijk gets the ball here and the ball is under pressure here, then you've either got a pass to Szoboszlai who can run into space then, or if Szoboszlai is the one that gets pressed by Mecha, he gives the ball back to Van Dijk, and it allows Van Dijk a run into the midfield, which then Szoboszlai comes and joins him, and when Szoboszlai gets that ball back, he is the guy. And now Van Dijk's definitely capable of doing this as well, so that's why it works both ways. He's the guy with the long passing range. The idea being that Leeds will start to drop when they see that Liverpool have bypassed the first line of the press. And what will happen is Salah will go and pick up a very, very wide position on the touchline, and Szoboszlai will knock a long ball forward there. So because of the way that Liverpool are set up here, the idea is to try and create as many rotations as possible for the wingers. Now, I think what is important here is the fact that if Leeds do play three at the back, this will help in this situation, because if Struijk goes out wide here, the idea for what's-his-face, Jeremy Frimpong, is that he creates an underlapping run, which obviously draws somebody like Goodmanson with him, which means that Salah can then cut inside into this space, which of course people like Ekitike or Isak, whoever that will be, Wirtz, McAllister, etc., will all be now a lot further up the pitch because of the clever movement that they made. So, of course, Leeds will be back a little bit here as well. And the idea being that creates then a little bit of space for somebody like Salah to cut inside, which obviously is what he loves to do. Now, the good thing about Leeds having three at the back, if we do decide to go with that against Liverpool, which we might not, we might go back to a 4 at the back to start with. If we go with a 3 at the back, this is the perfect solution to me, because it means you've still got two centre-backs here, even if Struijk has been bypassed in his about in no man's land really, and you've got Ampadu who can drop in and again make a back three. This is why I'm going to be harping on about the back three. If he doesn't continue to play it, I'm going to be harping on about the fact that he needs to play it. And if he does play it, I'm going to be praising it because I think it just works for us in these situations against the top sides. So the idea being that he can cut inside here and create space. Now, one of the other things that you might see is Ugo Ekitike or Alexander Isak will actually drop into this midfield here, almost into the 10 position, dragging out somebody like Ampadu. The idea being that Florian Wirtz can then make a striker's run in behind and get the ball and score. Of course, you've got the other winger here who can cut inside and help as well, but that's the general idea. And of course, rewind all the way back to the start, you can do that on the other side as well, with Frimpong sitting in a bit narrow there and Kerkez being the wide player, making that underlapping run, allowing whoever is out on this other wing to cut inside as well. So that's the general idea in build-up, is to create as many rotations as possible. Rotations with the fullback and the winger, rotations with the 9 and the 10, rotations with the fullback and the centre-back, rotations with the holding midfielder and the centre-back as well, in the attempt to try and move the opposition around. And moving the opposition around in football, we all know, is what creates space for your players to run into or for players to pass the ball into as well. So the idea being, let's create as much space as possible. But what happens when Salah cuts inside, has a shot, blocked by Bijol, and the ball ends up at Ampadu's feet? How do Liverpool set up when they're on the defensive? Well, they attempt to drop back into a 4-1-4-1. So let's say that Jeremy Frimpong instantly makes a sprinting recovery run. You then have Alexis McAllister will come on his own in here to create the 4-1-4-1. You'll see that Salah will go out wide, the other winger will go out wide, and Wirtz, for example, will drop in to that position there. So all the time, Leeds are turning, playing the ball forward, and attempting to break forward here. Now, where Leeds might be able to penetrate and where Leeds might be able to have some joy here is the fact that Alexis McAllister or whoever is in that role in that central midfield is going to be isolated there. And you can see if Leeds do play 2 up front, or even if we play 3, let's say that's not Strauch, that's Okafor and James, for example, you've outnumbered him there and you're easily going to be able to bypass him. So especially when you start sending the fullbacks forward as well, you start to see that Leeds can instantly bypass the midfield and you're instantly against the back line, which means the back line are all going to have to be making recovery runs backwards, which no one can really come out and charge the ball, because if they do, then of course Mecha can play that into Calvert-Lewin, and that is a load of space to run into. So they can't really overcommit like that. They have to keep dropping off until they get support from the wingers and stuff. But if Leeds are fast enough and they have enough players on this counter-attack, they can obviously leave Bijol, Strauch and Rodon back here. But if they have enough players on this counter-attack, you're looking at really outnumbering their back line, which of course they've got some excellent defenders in there. But Jeremy Frimpong is not massively a decent defensive defender. You're also looking at Milos Kerkez, if he's playing, is also not a great defensive defender. Andy Robertson's lost a yard of pace, so he's not necessarily going to get back on the cover. There's a chance if we are playing 3 at the back and we can spring that break, spring that counter-attack, that gives us a massive chance. Now, the option as well in this situation is, well, you say, well, where's our pace coming from on the break? Well, Goodmanson and Bogle have got a bit of pace about them, yes, but when you're talking about up front, Okafor is maybe an example, somebody who has played up front before and can play up front in these situations. He could come in for a Mecha or a Calvert-Lewin in these situations to try to get Leeds up the pitch. And maybe that's a substitution for later on in the game, because earlier on you might want the solidity of Mecha and Calvert-Lewin. We talked about it in the Chelsea preview. If Leeds do win the ball back and they instantly try and get back like that, Bijol can hit that long ball forward in the hope that Mecha can knock it down to Calvert-Lewin, who might give it to Gruev, and then Goodmanson's on the overlap. So the idea being, with this 3 at the back, you've got multiple options when playing forward, and I think it could work well against this Liverpool side. Now, Having said all this, it sounds mega optimistic. We are going to have a real job on our hands, stopping them from implementing their game plan and stopping them from scoring goals against us. So it's so important that we're so switched on. We're out to the ball quickly. We're aware that they are always going to want to cut inside. They're always going to want to play that long ball forward. But hopefully having 3 at the back, 5 at the back, depending on whether he goes for that or not, is going to give us that option. What I can say is, though, like I said, I'm recording this before the Chelsea game, so I'll see that tonight, yesterday for you, and when you're watching this, and of course we'll be live again on the weekend. If he chooses not to go with this 3 at the back system, I'm going to be very disappointed, because I think this could just about save his skin in the job. If he continues to play that system, I think we could pick up a lot of points using it. So thanks for watching Leeds lately. Make sure you hit that like button down below if you enjoyed these tactical previews, and I'll see you in the live watch along at the weekend. Thanks for watching.